Hello, Veruschka, and welcome to the Awakening Journey. Thank you.
You so
Great
much
to
for
be here.
having me here. Thank you.
Hi. Well, for everyone who doesn't know you, let me introduce you. Veruschka started her journey more than 20 years ago, and she started exploring science, energy work, self-inquiry, and personal development tools. And in 2020, she opened Zentuary Healing Center in New Jersey. It is a conscious healing movement where she offers various services such as hypnotherapy, bioenergy healing, breathwork, sound baths, spinal energetics, and other experiences designed to help others reconnect with their true nature and inner healing power. So, Veruschka, thank you for taking the time today to share your journey with us. Yeah,
Oh, thank
thank
you
you.
so much for having me, Susan. I'm so excited to be here. Very grateful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You.
Well, good. So let's start with the first question. I really
Sure.
want to know how you went from when you started to this moment. That is when I really got to know
Mhm.
you. So I would like to start asking you,
Yes.
how did everything start for you? Was there a specific moment when you felt that something had to change, or was it a series of events in your life?
So, this is a deep question because it's definitely so. When I got into my healing work, it was a series of events that happened to me.
Okay.
Um, Basically, when I was probably about 20 years old, I started to experience panic attacks and I
Okay.
didn't know what it was.
Okay.
So I felt my body having all these sensations and symptoms, and I would get dizzy and I needed to explore. I'm a very curious person. So
Mm-hmm.
I needed to understand what was happening in my body. And in that time, it felt really scary. And so I went to the doctor and they told me I was having a panic attacks, and they put me on medicine.
Okay.
So I thought the medicine was going to help, but it only helped a little bit of the physical symptoms. But during the time that was experiencing the panic attacks, little by little,
Mm-hmm.
I was also starting to avoid the places where I was having the panic attacks because somewhere in my mind I associated the place, or if I was eating something, or if I was with a certain person. It started really in
Mm-hmm.
college. I started to avoid those places.
Yes.
There was just a connection there.
Yes.
So when and really I had the panic attacks really probably for a good year before I went to the doctor because they were spaced out and I really
Okay.
wasn't sure what was happening. So
Um,
by the time I got to the doctor, I had already created like certain phobias around driving and certain
mm,
wherever I had like if I had a panic attack driving, I avoided driving. And I was in college at this time. I was in Boston. And I remember there was particularly this building where I had most of my classes. And one of the fears that I associated was ambulances, go figure. So
okay.
I became afraid. My mom, you know my mom. My mom's very, very, very high energy. So one
Yes.
of her, I guess, fears growing up was ambulances. She didn't like them, and she always would
Mm,
say it. And I think
mm,
that when I started to feel something was happening in my body, I used to feel like I was going to faint. And
mhm.
I started to say, oh my God, I'm going to need an ambulance. And I became terrified of ambulances.
Okay.
So it got to a point where the classroom that I would have to take my classes in, and I was in the middle of Boston in the city.
Okay.
So some ambulances would park outside, just like they do in New York anywhere. There's ambulances everywhere, and that was just arresting stuff. So little by little, I started to avoid going to those classes. So
Okay.
my life started to become very small. So by the time I got to the doctor, they put me on medicine and
Mhm.
great. It started to help a little bit of the physical, but it wasn't taking away the fears.
Okay.
And so that was really the beginning of my journey. So I said,
Mm,
okay, I need to understand. And up until that point, I thank God I've always been very healthy. And, I was used to, if you go to the doctor, they give you medicine, you take it for a few days or a week, and then it's over. And
Yes.
with this, it was ongoing. And I kept trying to tell the
Yeah.
doctor, well, like, how long do I have to take this for? And nobody could answer it for me. They couldn't tell me
Mm.
what it was. Like, well, what is really anxiety and what is really happening? So
Yeah.
that's where my journey began. And
Mm.
I started to research, I started to go to therapy because
Mhm.
to start to understand more of the psychology behind this, and where all of this was created, the root of this. And so
Yes.
I became so intrigued with the behavior and how
Mm.
growing up you learn certain, that's when your belief systems are formed, and
Yes.
how much that impacts you later in life. And
Mm.
then that just took me down this rabbit hole. It was probably, I would say it was a good 15-year journey to
Mm.
really get to where I am today, at least, if not more,
Yeah.
because once I started to understand the psychology, I wanted to learn more about that, the human behavior. And
Mm.
then with that came, I started to learn about nutrition. So one thing led to the other. And then I said, okay, I understand the mind, but what I'm putting into my body also plays a big role.
Yeah.
And I actually went back to school and I studied nutrition and became a health coach. And
Okay.
so in 2015, I started working with people, even though I had my regular daytime job, but I started coaching people with nutrition. My office was Starbucks. I would take my clients in Starbucks. Have
Oh,
a little
wow.
tea and a coaching session. And then
Okay.
and then that just started to evolve. And so
Okay.
that helped. But through all this time, I was still getting panic attacks. Even though I
Okay.
understood it, I know where it
Yeah.
was happening. I was eating right. I was exercising. I was doing yoga. I was still getting
Okay.
panic attacks. So
Okay.
I said, okay,
Hmm.
there's more to this. And
Yes.
that led me to one day, one of the coaches at my gym started to
Hmm.
talk to me about meditation.
Okay.
And so I sat down with what was, back then 5-10 minutes on like a little phone app, right?
Yeah.
Of meditation. And I would sit through it and I started to get into it more. And of course the mind is racing and learn, I wanted to get up and all of that. But I finally was able to do like 15 minutes, 20 minutes of meditation in the morning before I would go to work. And that is the first time that I started to actually see a change in my nervous system. And I started to see a change in how I felt. And that's
Okay.
when anxiety and panic attacks started to finally calm down. And
Mm.
so I said, okay, there's something here. And then, from there on, it was just exploration. That was probably around like 2018, 20, probably like 2018.
Okay.
And then the meditation started to help. And then I wanted to take it a step further. I knew that this was something that I wanted to do full time. I just
Okay.
didn't know how. And so I had a hypnosis session done on me,
Okay.
and to try to, even now I understood, but like to rewire some of these phobias that had been created back in the day.
Okay.
And that is when I really started to see even a deeper impact, because it was like 20 sessions of therapy in one, because you went right into the subconscious mind, right into where all of this information was being stored, all of our conditioning, all of our patterns, and
Mm.
childhood, all the experiences, all the trauma, it's in there in the subconscious mind. And so I ended up studying hypnotherapy. And
Okay.
when I first began Zentuary Healing Center, it was with hypnosis.
Okay.
And then, and then after that, I got into breath work. And then I got into learning more about the somatic body. So that's
Mm.
when I started to do things like actually Kundalini activation with
Mhm.
you, and then I did a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat, which I know we've shared, and that just took everything to another level,
Yeah.
because that was like meditation, hypnosis, beliefs, everything in the biggest form. And that was the biggest transformation I saw. And then I just said, okay, I need to do this for other people to help them, get
Yeah.
on their path. So yeah, it's been a long journey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
So interesting how one thing takes you to another, how related all of them are too, and how it's important to have all of them because it's important the nutrition, it's important, like you said, the mind, how you were exercising, the meditation to go inside, and then to go deep inside with the hypnosis. Wow, amazing.
and
Wonderful.
then and then the somatic body, because one thing is to
Yes.
understand it rationally, but our body is
Yes.
still holding on to all of that, those emotions. And so doing
Exactly.
things like CAP or different types of energy healing
Yeah.
starts to also help that release from the physical and energetic body. So
Yeah.
we're very integrated. Mind, body, spirit, I always say we're
Yeah.
one whole piece. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And now that you talk about energy, I've seen and you have
Mhm.
bioenergy healing
Mhm.
and spinal energetics,
Energetics, yeah.
right? So both of them, I believe, work with energy. Would
Yes.
you explain to us what is really the difference
Yes.
between each of these processes? How do
Modality.
they work? What do they do so people can understand? And me too.
Yes, absolutely. So bioenergy healing is very similar to Reiki. I know Reiki is a form of
Yes.
healing that a lot of people are aware of.
Yes.
You're basically working with your biofield,
Mhm.
the electromagnetic field around our body, and it's hands-on. And there's a certain technique that you go through, but usually start at the top of the head, opening
Okay.
the crown, and then
Okay.
you're working your way through the whole body, helping to open the meridians, our energy lines through the body. It's something that's called dredging, where we like clear the body, like literally moving the energy out.
Okay.
So to open and clear the biofield, and then I work top down, and then I work from your feet back up, fueling. So it's sending the energy back into the body. And what it's doing is creating coherence in our whole system.
Okay.
So it's working with the chakra points, energy centers. It's
Mm-hmm.
also working with our organs. So it's more, there's a little bit more medicine behind it. So
Okay.
it's used like to work around the heart and the kidneys, and you have to know where all the organs are. So I'm placing my hands along all of those parts, but it's
Okay.
fueling and giving energy to rebalance, really is what it is.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so similar to Reiki, where it's also that hands-on technique. Spinal energetics is different. It's also working with your field, the electromagnetic field in the body, but it's very technical. So it was created through a chiropractor in Australia, and
Okay.
it's very specific to your nervous system through your spinal cord. So
Okay.
when we work on the body, we start face down, and you do an assessment through the person's feet. And it'll show you if one leg's a little bit shorter than the other. We notice the tension in your ankle. So
Okay.
each one of those things lets me know where to start to work in the body. And
Um,
what I'm looking for is tension patterns. So let's say when someone has experienced a sort of some form of trauma, which we all do, a little or big trauma,
mm,
we
mm,
tend to, the nervous system takes a snapshot of the emotions of that moment. So
mm.
if you were scared by something, or you heard people screaming, something, the body tends to contract out of fear. And
Okay.
so it's like that little snapshot, that picture is stored in the nervous system. And we do this all
Mhm.
day long in all different ways, consciously and subconsciously. So
Mm.
little by little, as the body holds more and more of this trauma or tension patterns, we
Yes.
create almost like a disconnect between
Mm.
our body and our mind as a
Mhm.
protective pattern. So we become disconnected of certain parts of us that we don't even feel. We forget it's there.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
then that manifests sometimes in pain, or a lot of autoimmune disorders where we're holding all that. We can't, doctors can't figure out exactly what it is, but there's inflammation in the body, or
Wow.
different things that are happening. So all that's being stored really through the nervous system.
Okay.
So what spinal energetic does is when we do that assessment, it shows me where to start working with those tension patterns. There's 6 different processes that we do that from the practitioner side. But then you go through very light touch. So you work along the spine through we have to know every single vertebrae. They
Yeah.
all mean something different.
Okay.
So it's very light touch that, let's say, if a person is process A, that means that they're an overthinker. They're like a type A personality. They're constantly looping thoughts. They're stuck in their head basically.
Okay.
So we would work on them depending on which side there's more tension, which I notice with their feet. If they have one leg that's a little bit shorter than the other, I know it's okay. It's either being held on the right side or the left side.
Wow.
And
Sounds
where
like
that is, then I go and very specifically around the cervical spine, I start to place my hands very gently and I'm looking for resonance connection. You know,
okay.
that like feeling that's in there. And that's where that tension is. So through very light touch and then also sound,
Okay.
we're speaking to the energy body. We are allowing for that tension to start to open. And
Mhm.
so as it opens, we work with the physical body, with the physical layer, which is
Okay.
the nervous system. And then we're going through layers. So we're going through the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and the soul. And as we're doing that, we're checking. And then
Okay.
we make a sound, we're opening that door. And then
Okay.
we work with the energy center, the chakra that's associated with that process. So it's
Okay.
very, very technical, but what
Okay.
it does is that it helps to bring awareness back into the body where that
Mhm.
disconnect is. So a lot
Yes.
of times I start guiding it even through helping the person breathe and I'm watching their breath. Is it
Okay.
shallow? Can I bring it deeper? And then through the touch, it's like, remember, I'm here, like this part is here. Let's reconnect that. So the body
Mm.
feels safe enough to then feel and release whatever has been held.
Mm. I see.
So it's really powerful. It's very deep. And what's really nice about it is that if there's emotions that haven't been processed, this lets you finally process it and let it go, release it without sometimes having to relive the trauma or the moment of what it was.
I see.
So yeah.
I see. Wow. And I'm curious because you were saying that at the first of the session, right? You
Yes.
check the first thing you check is the if one leg is shorter than the other. So when you finish the session, you
Mhm.
take that back and you feel and see the difference in the length
Absolutely.
of the legs.
Absolutely. We do about 3 or 4 rounds in a session. So
Okay.
after you do the process, I go back and I reassess the feet, and you
Okay.
notice how through the session the feet start to balance, or sometimes they go from one process to another as the energy starts to move out. Then
Okay.
sometimes
Okay.
they could go somewhere else, right? So then we work
Okay.
on that process.
I
So
see.
the body's completely shifting the whole time.
Mm.
And it's again bringing it back to homeostasis, to balance is the goal of this session.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Okay.
it reminds me a lot of CAP in the sense that we're working with that life force energy, but
Mm-hmm.
with spinal energetics, instead of receiving, I'm working with the field of the person. Whereas
Yes.
in CAP, you're channeling and you're infusing the energy, but it's still that life force energy within. So it's really
Yeah.
powerful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I get the feeling of with those two techniques in energy that you work with, bio energy healing and spinal energetics, it's like you said, right? Like opening the path for the meridians and the chakras. That is where life force energy flows within our body. You kind of release, like open the path for life force energy to
Able
flow
to move
more
through.
freely. Yeah,
Exactly.
wonderful. Very
Exactly.
good, very
Exactly.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue. We've talked a little bit
Yes.
about energy, right? Those
Yes.
two techniques that you have about energy. Now, I would like to talk a little more about the big influence that had and keep having in your life. I know that
Mhm.
about meditation.
Mm.
So, you want to tell us what meditation means to you and how anyone who listens to this who knows a little or nothing about meditation, please, what would you share with them about meditation?
So the question that I always get asked is, or that I always get told is, I can't meditate. I don't
Okay.
know how to meditate. I meditate wrong, because people think that in order to meditate, they tell me I can't sit down. My mind is racing. I'm moving. I just can't. I do it a few minutes and I get up. So
Yes.
what I always say is, there's so many forms of meditation, because
Mhm.
you can sit in silence and meditate that way, but you can also sometimes just dropping in and listening to music and letting your mind wander, for me, is a form of meditation. Sometimes just movement, like just dancing like in your head, that can be a form of meditation. Walking, gazing at a candle, at just the flame, is a form of meditation. So there's many ways to approach it, but I think that meditation allows you to turn off the noise, because you eventually get to that space, even if there is a little movement, but you're able to turn off the noise, the constant critical mind that's always thinking and analyzing, and the prefrontal cortex, if we were to say, that's the part
Mm.
that's always filtering and questioning things that can drive us nuts. And when you finally turn that off, you get into the subconscious, or you get into a state of hypnosis, which is very natural. And you have so much depth in that moment, because you are giving your nervous system a break. It's not
Mm.
having to do anything, it's not having to think. You can just be there. And I think that opens that door to so much
Mm.
information to flood in, right?
Yes.
Which is what's so beautiful.
Yes.
So in that space, I mean, I do my best ideas come through meditation. And sometimes it's even like in the shower, I'm just letting the water run through me. And
Yes.
that's a form. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can do this, or I can do that, or this brilliant idea. But not only are you resting your nervous system, you're allowing for creation to flow through,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes. Absolutely.
And I
Yes.
think that's when we connect to source, however we want to call it, God, the universe, our higher self. Like, we are really channeling our
Yes.
essence, our true self,
Exactly.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yes.
I'm getting chills.
I know, I'm hearing
Chills.
you, and it's like I'm thinking about, oh, she's talking about channeling, and then you are saying those words. It's so fascinating how.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with you that meditation and any other practice that resonate with us, that help us to take the attention within.
Yes. Exactly.
Because we are so used to have the attention in the outside world that we have to, but finding the time, and I believe that consistency about
Yes.
doing it, even if it's just 5 minutes, two, three, one, 20, whatever you have that day, but the
Yes.
consistency of doing it every day and bring the attention in there is opening that creativity, that channel that we all are, right? Because we all are channelers, and we receive the information that we need, or journaling also, then
Exactly.
you meditate, you stay in silence, and little by little, just by journaling, you can also receive those
Messages.
messages and guidance.
Insights, right?
Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And the more you do it, like you were saying, the easier it is to connect.
True.
Because
Yes.
in the beginning, you find a lot of resistance, but then your body almost craves. I know I crave
Yes.
it, right?
Yes.
I need that quiet time to just like go within and process my
Yes.
emotions, process my feelings, and receive that. It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
So
exactly,
beautiful.
exactly. I love what you said about the craving, because that's what I also share with people and tell them when they start meditating, is that at first you set the alarm, because I think it's a good practice to at the beginning to set an alarm, and you will be surprised how little by little it's like the alarm sounds, and it's like, oh, already? Like, no, I want to stay here longer. Right? So you can really be surprised of how you feel once you get used to that space. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the time can fly. Where at first it felt like 5 minutes. Sometimes you be in there 20, 30 minutes, and it
Yeah.
did feel like 5 minutes. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Because
Yeah.
then we go into the no space, no time,
No
and then
time, nowhere.
exactly.
And you
Exactly.
just get lost, and
Yes.
you're really in that presence, that present moment. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. So we've talked about the energy. We've talked about meditation, how to go within. Now let's go deeper, like I was saying before, with the other practice that you offer, that is hypnosis, right? That you really go deeper. So how would you explain to anyone who never had a session, who have heard about it, but they don't really know how a session is? What do you do? What happens? Where do you access? And a little more details about that.
About it.
Share a little more.
Sure, absolutely. So the first thing I say, it's not like what we see on TV, where you're
Ah,
being like a little pendulum being moved over your eyes and you're being put to sleep. No, we are in full control.
okay.
Hypnosis is a very natural state that we actually go through throughout the day. And
Mm-hmm,
what it is we slow our brain waves down.
mm-hmm,
So when we when we're talking right now, we're using our conscious mind, our analytical mind. So we're in beta brain waves. And
okay.
then, which is a quicker brainwave, there's a lot more activity. When we are what they say, like you're in the zone or you're in the flow, right? That you kind of forget a little bit of your surroundings, the brainwaves slow down to alpha. And then
Okay.
when you go into hypnosis, the brainwaves slow down a little more and you're in theta brainwaves now.
Mm-hmm.
And what that is that the subconscious analytical mind has turned off, and
Okay.
or I'm sorry, not the subconscious, the analytical mind has turned off and the
Yeah.
subconscious mind is wide open.
Oh,
And so it's that space between when you're about to fall asleep, that's delta, that's even like a slower brainwave. So naturally we wake up through hypnosis, through theta brainwaves. And when we're about to fall asleep, we're also in that state. What's so powerful about it is you're very suggestible when you're in
mm,
theta brainwaves. So when we do a session, when people come in, let's say that they have been experiencing certain patterns that they repeat, or it could be fears, or it could be belief systems that they have that, this is just who they think they are.
yes.
When, let's say you go through traditional talk therapy, you can talk about it, and you can understand it, but it's not enough. You're not really shifting it. In
Mm-hmm.
hypnosis, the way we do it is usually through a session, we would first talk about what it is that you want to reframe or change
Okay.
or connect, rewire the brain to think
Yeah.
differently.
Okay.
And then I would walk the person through what's called an induction, which feels very much like a guided meditation, usually like
Okay.
15 minutes or so. It's a relaxation where we're helping those brainwaves slow down to
Okay.
put you in that state of hypnosis. Hypnosis is a state. And then once they're in that space where they feel so relaxed, almost sleepy, I start to talk to the subconscious mind, which is
Oh,
where everything is. And I start to give suggestions. So let's say if they're coming in, I'm trying to think of, okay, I had somebody last night who, growing up, her mom and her sisters used to tell her that she wasn't enough. She wasn't good enough. She wasn't pretty enough. She was never going to attract a man,
mm,
a husband, a partner. She
okay.
was never going to be successful. So as a child, she has been listening to this from her mom and her sisters, who are supposed to be the most important people that are there to love her and nourish her. So her inner child developed this belief that now in her present day, even though she's 53 and an adult, she's not good enough.
Yeah.
But she's an attorney, she's married, she has her children, so obviously she is. But this part of her has still believed and still fights
Yeah.
her that
Yeah.
she's just not good, even though she's done this. So what we do in a session for that is, once I help her get into that state that's very relaxed, I start
Yes.
to talk to that part of her inner child, that
Mm-hmm.
stayed stuck at 6, 7, 8 years old. She stayed stuck, hearing her mom and her sisters constantly say this. So that voice has carried now as an adult. And I talk to that part of her, changing that belief. And so we do that through suggestibility, certain language that I use. And I would be telling that part, those voices, that story, that was never you. That's your mom, that's your siblings, that's their story. But
Yes.
instead, you're just a child. You developed this because you didn't know any better. You
Mm,
were listening to this. So I bring in the adult version of her, and I
Mm.
have her talk to. So it's almost like we're bringing those two parts together. And the
Okay.
adult version of her, who's also a mom, we reparent that little girl and we tell her,
Mm.
like, look at you now. I'm your future self. I'm the adult version of you. Look at all the things you've achieved. You know, you're
Mm.
married, you're a lawyer, you have a business, you have children.
Mm.
You know, so this belief is not real. It's a misplaced belief. And so that's where the therapy part is, where we're reframing the belief system. And the reason why it's effective is because you are suggestible. The analytical mind that would usually question and say, no, that's not true. I don't believe that. You know, it's
Yes.
turned off. And
Mm.
so there's no filter. So you're just accepting this information. And
Okay.
little by little, the that pattern or that thought starts to rewire through repetition.
Mm.
And
Okay.
then as you do that more and more, that starts to
Mm.
become the new belief.
I
And that
see.
old voice starts to turn off and turn away. So
Yeah,
really
that.
healing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to ask you exactly that, that it's not a one session and then you access and then you change. Probably the same, right? The same
Yeah.
like they were get the same the way that limiting belief God is put in there, is seed, the seed, right? Was
Programmed,
put in there
right?
when we were little, right? When we were young, because of repetition of hearing over and
All
over,
your
you are
life.
or
All your life. She heard it for she's 53 now. So all her life. Imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because not only in the subconscious mind, it is very important what happens from 0 to 7, right? But also all the other things that we keep hearing and that we keep doing like a habit, it also is because of the repetition, right? Is getting stuck in our subconscious minds and big mind and the beliefs of who we are, right?
It's
Yeah.
been reinforced over and over and
So,
over. So we have to, break that,
mm,
like literally in the brain, break that neuro pathway and then
mm,
reconnect it to a new belief. And so the more you repeat that, the more you do the work, the more you
yeah.
listen to it, then that becomes, the new belief. And then that's automatic. We don't have to even think
Yes.
about it. So yeah, it does take a little time. There's some people that are so ready.
Mhm.
And there's also different people are more suggestible in different levels. There are people
Yeah.
that go in way deeper. So
Okay.
sometimes they need less because they're just,
Mm.
easy to connect. There's
Got it.
people that are more resistant, or, I would say like probably 60% of the people were there in the middle. And then you
Okay.
have like 10 or 20% who just don't want to, they fight it so hard. And then probably
Mm.
only 10% go in that quickly, that deeply, where they become catatonic is the word, where their
Mm.
eyes roll back and they're in just, you could program them to do anything. So, but that's not the average.
I
So
see.
for the average person, it takes a little time. And I let them record a session so they can go home and listen to it before going to bed. And I give them integration work in between sessions too, so they can keep working on that, throughout the day. When a little thought comes up, the second they become conscious, they can
Yeah.
change it.
I see. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I guess it's
Yeah.
the same person who it gets to a point where they feel that they don't identify with that identity right anymore. It's like they will feel it inside when they already overcame, right? Or have overcome that belief, right? That limiting belief. I
Absolutely.
see.
It becomes somebody else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
doesn't serve them anymore. And so it's just not part of them anymore.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talk about energy, about meditation,
Yeah.
about hypnosis. I know that you also and we know how much sound
Oh.
also the vibration affects our body, right? Our cells.
Mhm.
So I've seen all the beautiful equipment that you have in
Oh,
your beautiful studio.
yes.
And I really would love to learn from you more about sound,
Sound. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
about sound baths, about sound healing.
Yeah.
How does it work? How did you learn? What has been your experience with that? And what do you offer to your clients?
Yes, absolutely. So I like to integrate sound into different sessions. So usually I do it more in group.
Okay.
After I've done a group breath work or even spinal energetics or some bioenergy healing, at the
Okay.
end, I always play some sound bowls. Sound is vibration, so it's frequency. And
Mm-hmm.
our body, how can I explain this properly? So we're mostly water, 80% water. So our whole system it's always shaping like a mandala, right? We have frequency moving around us all the time. Not only that, but our bioenergy field, they're patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So when we work with sound as a tool, the frequency of each instrument is helping to repattern our energy field as well from that vibration. It's moving to different vibrations or frequencies or levels. So I always think of it as like it smooths over your whole body at the end. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
reshifts and it reshapes. So when we've done breath work that we're moving so much energy or the spinal energetics or bioenergy, at the end, it's almost like something to integrate the
Mm-hmm.
field and create that repatterning in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then different instruments have different frequencies. I don't know I don't go too deep into that because I self-taught myself with sound. I was
Okay.
just
Okay.
so interested by it and I was interested in the sound bowl. So I
Yeah.
bought a set of bowls and I started playing them and I started to offer it, at the end of a lot of my group work. So little by little I've bought a gongs and
Yeah.
chimes and so but I know, people that really study it, every instrument has a different hertz.
Yeah.
So, like hertz frequencies, like
Mm-hmm.
solfeggio frequencies, I believe is the word, where you listen to the frequency in the background through meditation, and each pitch is doing something differently, like balancing us in a different way.
Yeah.
So you can buy the instruments depending on that and different notes or to create different levels of harmony. But for
Wow.
me, it's like layers, like it's adding layers to the healing, to the integration mostly.
Okay. 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 Very good. Very good. Thank you for sharing what you know. You know,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
it's been very intuitive when it comes to
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
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 But there's people that play sound for like 2 hours and it's blows your mind. It's almost like a cleanse of your whole system.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can put you, especially gongs, that
Mm.
can put you in that altered consciousness very quickly because
Very
it's so
true.
powerful. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Very true. Yeah, and I'm glad that you just mentioned, let's talk a little, if you want, about breath work.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's
So,
another tool.
yes,
So many
exactly.
tools,
So
right?
many.
So many tools. So breath work for me was also really fundamental
Okay.
when I was working through anxiety, because sometimes when I work with people and myself included, when we have that anxious mind, the mind is always going, 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 going. It is
Yes.
very hard to just all of a sudden sit and get into that meditative state in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to do there are different types of breath works. There's breath work that can they all work with your nervous system. So there's breath work that can be upregulating. So
Okay.
it energizes you and it puts you more in the sympathetic nervous system state, which is like we're moving. Or
Mm.
there's breath work that completely settles the nervous system and puts you in the parasympathetic state.
Okay.
So, and that's a slower breath, a much deeper breath. So, I like to do a combination. And of course, depending on if I'm working with someone that's coming in that's very anxious, I'm not going to have them do the quick breath because that's just going to trigger them more. But for me, breath work is something physical to do
Mm-hmm.
where your bio the chemistry in your body is changing. We're changing the carbon dioxide and oxygen levels when we do certain breath work.
Mm-hmm.
And that can move energy, definitely moves energy, but it also puts you in that altered state of consciousness. So it can deepen, like even the hypnosis sessions, I always start every client. Let's start with a little breath work, just taking a few deep breaths in. I count them because
Yeah.
that will immediately start to settle the mind.
Yeah.
And then we can get into the meditation or the hypnosis. But I do full hour-long sessions of breath work once a week with
Okay.
a group. And I bring them, again, I integrate it depending on who's there. I can read, my clients, my field of, are they more sleepy? I always ask them how they feel that day.
Yeah.
But if we do, I guide them through I do something called conscious connected breath work, where I
Okay.
guide them through 3 or 4 minutes of each pattern of breath work. And so
Okay.
some will be more upregulating. So it's like a inhale, exhale out through the nose, like inhale, exhale, like breath of fire is very popular in yoga.
Yeah.
And that can get you more awakened.
Yeah.
And then I let them be there for a little bit, and then I do a down regulating. So I'm bringing them like up and down. And
Okay.
there's so many benefits to breath work, because not only are we physically moving energy out of the body, we're also increasing the capacity of our nervous system. So the more that we do it, the more we can sustain these levels of, we prepare ourselves almost for pressure. So when we do that upregulating breath, and we are
Yeah.
changing our carbon dioxide, people that hike or athletes, they can hold more carbon dioxide in their body.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but people that have anxiety, if they're more under pressure, because their body's used to that breath and that movement, their window of tolerance increases. So they can hold more of the stress, without them getting to that place where they tip over almost. So it trains the lungs, it trains your whole system. I mean, there are many different types of breath work for different reasons, but breath work is super powerful, super,
Mm.
super powerful. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing about it too.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Thank you.
So I would like to ask you now with what changes happen in your habits, in
Mm,
your day-to-day life, since you started having all these
oh,
moralities, and yeah, what changed in your everyday life? What are the practices you do?
mhm.
How do you organize your day? Yeah, tell us a little about how all of them have influence
Yeah.
where you are right now. Yeah.
So, I mean, first and foremost, I used to live in constant fight or flight, like that anxiety, panic attack mode before
Yeah.
all of this. And what I do now is I do my practices in the morning. So as soon
Okay.
as I wake up, even before I open my eyes, like as I start to wake, I start to say certain affirmations to myself, or certain
Okay.
beliefs or goals that I've been working on, or setting the intention for the day. So I
Okay.
start to do that in my head. And then I always do a little bit of breath work and meditation in the morning.
Okay.
That is my foundation. It grounds me, puts me in my body. And
Yeah.
then I wake up to the world, because, there's noise everywhere. So it really helps me start focused, aligned. And then, I go through my everyday life. I also do my exercise. I go to my gym, I do my exercise. So that helps me a lot.
Hmm.
And then it helps also, because it's one thing to do it for yourself, but I'm also holding that space for people every day, at Zentuary. And so I have people that are coming in with sometimes a lot of heavy things, a lot of emotions that they want to release, especially with hypnosis. It's a lot of people going through some form of trauma, or even when I work on the physical body, I always say, I don't, we can't catch energy, but sometimes the energy is heavy. And if I'm not grounded,
Hmm.
I feel that I pick that up. So it's very important for me to have those practices every day to stay grounded.
Hmm.
And then I always, like, at the end of the day, after I've worked with people, I will either take a walk outside. That's really important for me. And
Hmm.
just connecting, like breathing fresh air, getting some sun. And while I do that, that's also a form of meditation for me. I just take like a long walk, or listen to some grounding music, which also helps me to
Mhm.
clear, before I go back, or exercise also. Like I need to move after I work with people, just to move whatever I've worked with throughout the day out of my body.
Good.
But it's made a big difference. I feel I can focus.
Hmm.
I've become, like I'm a good listener. Before I used to be so anxious that even if
Hmm.
people were talking to me, my brain was going so quickly that I wouldn't even hear half the stuff they were saying. I was already thinking like, what do I have to answer? And now I can just be so present, so in the moment. So it's helped me. I mean, it's changed I can't be without it. It's who I am. I mean, I made it my everyday, life to serve in that way, because it's just so healing. And my big thing that I learned from everything that I do is that It doesn't matter the food you eat. It doesn't matter how much exercise. If you're not grounded, if your nervous system isn't regulated, you cannot do anything
Yeah.
because you're doing it from a place of fight or flight, like anxious mode, and you're not really truly healing in the body. And so I think nervous system regulation and however, whatever tools you use to get
Yeah.
that is the foundation to everything else.
Yeah, very important. Thank you for saying that. It's very, very true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
saying.
Thank
Good.
you. Thank you.
Good. So, if I ask you, what was the most challenging part of your awakening? What would you say?
Well, first, when you had asked me about this question in the beginning, when we were going to talk about this, one of the things that I remember, I mean, I can answer this in so many ways, but since I was a little girl, I
Yeah.
remember saying to myself, like, I love life. I love to experience. I
Mm,
love, I love traveling. I love talking to different people. I love to juice life. I have a very big appetite for life. And
yes.
since I was young, I had so much trouble trying to figure out a career because I thought like I have to go to college and study. And I could never see myself working in an office and working behind a computer.
Mm,
And I remember as a kid saying, like, there's no way you get up and you go to work every day and do the same thing, behind a computer, all for like 1 week of vacation. It just, since I was little, I knew that that wasn't right. So when you had asked me, like, what was my awakening? I think it's just been an intuitive knowing that there is so much more to life than the
mm,
everyday monotony.
yes.
So for me, I think the biggest challenge was, so I was a teacher before I did this. I taught elementary school.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
had a couple of different jobs because I couldn't find my place in the
Okay.
workforce that would satisfy what I wanted to do. And so
Okay.
when I started teaching, it was great because I was like not playing, but it was different than being behind a computer all day. And
Yeah.
there was more flexibility with time, which allowed me to do my coaching and all of that as well. But I think that my biggest challenge was finding how to make this my lifestyle and how to serve
Mm,
from this place and I can never call this a job. Like when I say I have a
mm,
healing center, but it's not my job. It's just my passion and my purpose. It's my dharma. And so getting from which, and I didn't start that till 2020. So it's been 5, 6 years. And
mhm.
I think I was like 42 or 43. So my biggest challenge was figuring out how do I go from the everyday workforce to
Yes.
being able to do this as my work, do this as my job, do this as my lifestyle, and have that be my thing. So that was very challenging for me. But along with that, there's also other moments where 2 years ago, actually, when I was working with a lot of clients, I was also finding that I was burning out because I was taking on so much of that
Mm,
energy. And I started to even question, am I supposed to be doing this? Like, I
mm.
love what I do, but
Yes.
am I supposed to be doing something? I finally found my passion, and then I started
Yes.
to question, like, oh, what's happening? And I think I've gone through many dark nights of the soul, but that one was,
Okay.
I realized it was an evolution. So I
Mhm.
think it's learning how to identify also that when we think that we're going through those dark nights or those awakenings, or the dark nights are really an up leveling, or almost like
Mm,
we're breaking out of a new cocoon and we're
mm,
becoming someone else. We're evolving, which is what we're supposed to be doing.
yeah.
And I think sometimes we can only see that looking back in retrospect, but when we're going through it, it feels so tough. And you're questioning, like, what's wrong? Am I doing
Yeah.
this wrong? What is happening to me physically? I was like, why can't I was exhausted all the time. And so that would trigger sometimes a little bit of anxiety again. So I think it's those moments of growth that are challenging. And I've learned now that my body's just a signal. And when I start to feel
Mm,
those things,
yeah.
that it's my body telling me, hold on, it's time to, I don't want to say up level, it's time to shift. It's time
Yes.
to do things in a different direction.
Yeah.
And it's our body's so intelligent, our
Mhm.
mind is so intelligent, and it's
Yeah.
just showing you like, okay, it's time to do something a little bit differently, or you've outgrown this. Let's see
Yeah.
how you can evolve this to something different.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, but
Thank
there's
you so
been many.
There's what?
There's been many darkness. There's been, just when you think you're good, it's like boom, smack you again. Like I can't do this anymore. I'm sure you've experienced that, right?
Yes, yes. And I want to say thank you so much for being so honest, because maybe others, and I too, I can relate to that, right? That you believe like, okay, I found what I really want to do, what I came here to do.
Yes.
Then when you are in that path, there are also moments where it's not that everything is gonna flow and be
Oh
perfect. And
no.
we keep growing and we keep learning. And thank you for being so honest and saying that, because it's a path, it's our journey, and we will keep learning. I believe that is more yeah, it can be tough, but it's easier or more because we are more aware. I
Yes.
believe that when you are in this path already, not when you just start, but when you are already in this path, and then it's easier to bring awareness to what is happening, like you have been doing, and then say, okay, like you said, my body is a sign, right? So now I know I just need to stop, listen, observe, and see where I need to change that direction, right? And that's all. Is
That's all it is.
accepting, yeah, accepting that it doesn't matter what path we are in, we are going to have lessons,
Yeah.
challenges, and that is normal, that is part of life, and it's just how quick we can bring awareness into that and learn from there, right? To keep evolving. Yeah,
Exactly the key.
yeah.
It's not getting stuck there and saying, okay,
That-
hold on, this is for a reason. And
yeah.
I think, like you said, a lot of that is the consciousness, and it's also the mindset around how you see things. Because I got to the point now where I call life like this is our human adventure, right? We
Mhm.
came here to be humans and to experience. And for a very long time, I used to think it was supposed to be very linear. Like,
Yeah.
we're conditioned through society. You're born, you go to school, then you have a career forever, and there's these steps, and you're supposed to do these things forever. And then one day I said, no, no, that's so boring. Like,
Yes.
I want to experience, and I want to reinvent myself, and you can, right? So
Yes. Yes.
you do this for a little while, and then you get tired of it and you decide you want to do it differently. And
Yes.
if life is so beautiful if we can see it
Yes.
that way, and we can take it as like this is our playground, and we can do
Yes.
so much, and through
Yes.
there's the lessons, and there's you're evolving.
Yes.
So there's I listen to Tony Robbins a lot, and like a lot of spiritual teachers, and he always says when you stop evolving, you're dying. Like when you stop
Yeah.
growing, you're dying. And you
Mhm.
really are. We're not supposed to stay stagnant. We're supposed to keep going. And
Yes.
so, and sometimes it's longer. I always say it's like the chapter. Our life is a book, and sometimes the chapters are longer,
Mm.
sometimes they're shorter. But every part is leading us to the next adventure, to the next
Yeah.
place. So
Yeah.
have fun with it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Very nicely
yeah,
said. Thank you. Thank you, Veruschka,
you.
for that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see, because I had a question. I think you already answered that about how you change, right? From having that life like a teacher, but how was exactly that moment? It was one day that you said, you know what, I need to share this full time. It's like you woke up this one day and then you said, I have to do it now, or how did it happen for you?
It was hard. It was so for a while I always knew that was not my passion. I love the kids. If it was just me and the kids, it'd be great, but there was so much more. I was not meant. Was meant to teach in a different way. I didn't know from a business angle how to make the
Okay.
leap, because what I
Mm.
wanted to do, I remember I kept trying to look for jobs that would
Mm.
have this type of work,
Mm.
and it
Yes.
didn't. I was
Yeah.
like, I kept thinking like in corporate, what am I supposed to do? And nothing. Everything felt
Mhm.
so heavy in my stomach. And
Yes.
so it was a very long I taught for 10 years. So it was a very long time until I was finally able to make that leap. And what happened was in 2019, right at the end of 2019, I was experiencing panic attacks again, but now it got really intense. And I would drive to work and I would have panic attacks driving to work, because that's why I say, like, that shift, it's now easier to understand. My body was literally screaming at me, like, you cannot go here anymore. You're not supposed to go here anymore. But again, I was so stuck in what I thought I had to do. This was my job, and it was a steady paycheck, and I had my health insurance and all the things that we think we need, which,
Yes.
to survive.
Yes.
And until one day I was driving and I had such a bad panic attack. I literally left the car in the side of the road. I called Uber. I Ubered home. I don't even know if the car was parked properly or not. It could have been towed.
Yes.
And I went home and my nervous system was so fried that I was constantly shaking, constantly in that fight or flight mode. And I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I was crying. I remember I even like called my mom at work one day, and I went home. I'm like, you need to come over. I'm having like such a bad panic attack. And it was like, that was the end. And I resisted for a long time, but
Yeah.
and at that point, I decided to take a leave of absence from teaching. I could take up to 3 months. I was able to do it medically because of what I was experiencing. And then COVID happened. And it was like the timing couldn't have been any better. So COVID happened, the world shuts down. And that was actually my chance to take a break and not have the pressure. And even though the teachers were teaching from home, I was still in a little bit of that leave of absence. I was able to extend it. And then that's when I said, okay, no, like, I cannot do this anymore. I need to get into my work that I love. And that's the time where I found a school for hypnotherapy. And I started the classes in person, and then it was in the city, and then everything shut down. We went virtual. And at that point, I made the decision. I said, I am not going back. I am doing this full time. And I was given the option, like, because you only have a certain amount of time, I needed to go back or resign. And I just said, I'm resigning. The universe is going to take care of it. And the crazy part was, I did a meditation. So I think I finished around May or June of that beginning of that year. And I wanted to start right away doing hypnosis. And I had my first client, who was a friend. And I didn't want to do it in my apartment. Obviously, I didn't want to bring people there. So I rented out the little office of my yoga studio to do my session. And I said, no, this is not going to work out. I need my own place. I want to set it up properly. And I did a meditation from Dr. Joe, with the one that he has, where it's I think it's called Tuning into New Potentials, where you have to do the symbol. I don't know if you remember that one, but you choose a goal and then you give it a symbol. So you give it a letter. And so you give it a letter, and that letter represents like what you want and what the elevated emotions are. So I wanted an office, but I wanted an office that was close to home, because I was getting the panic attacks driving. So it needed to be close to home, where it was a few blocks away or a short drive. It had to be a certain price, because I was just starting, and I wrote down all the things. And then my symbol was O, for office. And I meditated with one of Dr. Joe's meditations on O, and like what it would mean, what it would represent. That afternoon, I took a walk in my neighborhood. And I look up and I see a building that I must have passed by every single day for 6 years that I had lived there, and I never paid attention to it. That day I look up and there's a sign that says for rent. Never noticed this place. I call the realtor in. There was one little office, the exact size, the exact price, everything that I wanted. And I had signed my lease in 2 days, and it took off.
Wow.
It was crazy. And in my first week, I had 7 clients, and then the rest is history. And I stayed in that office for a year, and then I moved to where I am now, because it just grew so quickly. So to make a long story short, it was a very long transition to get to where I was. But I think once I said, like, that's it, then it just took off. It just took off. So it happened fairly quickly, but it was a long time coming. And then it just built itself. Thank God. So yeah.
Wonderful. Wow. And it's It's coming to me now that you say that it was a building where you were passing for
Everything,
a long time, but you didn't see how amazing is
right?
when we set an intention with meditation, and normally meditation really
Yes.
take us to a different state,
Yep.
but how we start seeing the
Mhm.
things that we didn't see before, like it happened to you, that
Yep.
we really need to spend that time in saying, hey, what, okay, I don't like, in case whoever is listening this, any person who is listening to this, and they are like, okay, I know what I have in my life, I know what I don't like, but
Yes.
have you stopped and think about, okay, what do I want? Because
Yes.
when you start with meditation, writing it,
Yes.
visualizing, whatever it is, but spend some times
Yes.
dedicating time to that, your attention, because when you are putting your attention in there, then you start all the changes that happen right in our brain, the connections, and then we can start seeing things that we were not able to see before. So thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Thank you. And it
Because
falls in your lap. That's how powerful we are, right?
mm,
And I
yes,
think a lot of that has to do with just trusting and going for it. You know, when your body's telling, when you have that instinct, like go for it. You can change it
yes,
immediately. We just doubt ourselves so much. We think it's not
yes,
possible, but
yeah.
belief systems, but we change our mindset, change our beliefs, and boom,
Mhm.
it's available. Everything's available to us.
Yes,
We just
yes,
have to get in the right mindset, the right frequency, and
yes.
attract it.
Yes.
That's it.
And then we connect with that.
I
Very,
know.
very true. And not through power, not through, okay, I have to make the list of all the
No.
buildings around, I have to call, I have to
No.
check online. It just happened. You are walking and then you see it. That's how it works. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you. I love to.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
amazing. It is. It's so beautiful when you see it. And then when you
Um,
really start doing that, then you see more and you see more, and the universe keeps giving you more
yeah.
miracles, right? More signs,
Yes.
and you
Yeah.
can't doubt it. It's so real. It's
Yeah,
so
those
real.
synchronicities, right? Those
That's the
cold
word.
synchronicities,
That's the
exactly.
word. It's like they fall out of nothing, right? It's just there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I would like to ask you, Veruschka, so is there something or anything that you would like to do or
Mhm.
that you are planning to do that you still haven't done?
Ooh, there's a lot. I have a lot of maybe ambition is the word, but so I'm doing my first retreat this year, which I've been wanting to do for a long time through
Okay,
Zentuary. So
okay.
are you talking like through work wise or personal or both?
Anything that comes to you
Anything.
both, anything that comes and you would like to share with us. Yeah.
So definitely I've been wanting to do like take people somewhere. So I'm creating my first retreat to Morocco, which I'm really excited about.
Okay.
And I really want to just keep sharing this work in different ways. So I've been really wanting to do bigger group because you come to you offer a cap at my center. So it's small, but I'm really being called to like bigger stages, bigger platforms,
Okay.
do a lot more speaking around what it is that we do, really just to share the work, to share the light, the intention, to remind people that they can do, everybody can do this,
Yes.
everybody, there's not one person that cannot do this. So just sharing the space in on bigger platforms, so that
Okay.
people can do that. Those
Okay.
are really my two of my big goals this year.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And see, this is happening because we this is going to go out there to so many people who are
True.
ready to and resonate with this message. So, yeah, thank you for setting that intention, for sharing it with us, and so beautiful. So I know that it will happen. Yeah.
Thank you so
Oh,
much for giving me
yeah.
the platform.
Yes, 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 yes. And more that will come. You'll see. You'll see. Now that you are setting that intention, it will just come, like that building came to you, I'm sure that it will happen. Yes. And congratulations on that retreat. Yeah, amazing.
I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to it at the end of the year. So yeah.
very good. Very good. Okay, so if you could go back
Yeah.
today
Uh-huh.
and give a message
Mhm.
to Veruschka from 20 years ago,
Ooh,
who was just beginning to wake up, what would you tell her?
wow. Ooh, I have goosebumps everywhere.
Mhm.
First, I would tell her that she is so okay, that she's so safe because she was so scared. She didn't realize, especially when she was going through the panic attacks, she
Yeah.
had no idea. She was on this quest to figure it out. So
Yes.
I would first and foremost try to help her feel safe and know that she's okay. There's nothing wrong with her. I would also, if I could give her the wisdom that I have now, and I say I don't want to erase anything that I've experienced because everything has brought me to where I am. Everything
Mm.
has given me the experience to now be able to work with others.
Yeah.
But if
Yes.
I could give her a little shortcut of having to go through so much torture and just give her the wisdom, and you just tell her, it's if you can just sit with yourself, if you can just accept yourself the way you are, if you can know, even trusting her intuition, because I think she
Mm.
knew a lot, but
Mm.
she didn't have the words for it, and
Okay.
she thought that it needed to look a different way. So if I
Mm.
could tell her, like, you have it right, you have the answer,
Mm.
right? Just be different, follow that path. Because
Yeah.
back in the time, this type of work wasn't as mainstream as it is now.
Yeah.
So if I could just tell her, like, go for it, be that trailblazer, don't be afraid of it. There's nothing wrong. I think sometimes even the anxiety that I was feeling was energy. That's not mine. I
Mm.
just didn't know, I didn't have the language to interpret that. But I would also tell her that you are finally going to get to where you've always longed to be, which is
Mm.
really important. Yeah. To feel
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Thank Wow. Yes. 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 Yeah. Beautiful that you mentioned that intuition, because sometimes it's just that stop to listen inside because we
Yeah.
know, and sometimes it's the fear what is
Yeah.
telling us differently and what is stopping us. So thank you for saying that about the intuition because we
We
know, we
know.
know,
We
we know,
know. Yeah.
we know.
Especially us that are in this field when we're working with energy, we know. We
Yeah,
have to
yeah, we
listen.
know.
Yeah.
So anyone who listens, like sometimes it's just taking the time to give you permission to listen to what your intuition is telling you, not so much the mind, and have the courage to say, this is what I'm hearing inside, and let's take step by step, and it could be like a little step that you can doesn't need to be a change of your career right away, but what can I do today in this direction? And see where it takes you. You never know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Trust it. Trust it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Because that is the essence of life, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So to everyone who is now beginning to
Yeah.
wake up and question life, let's say, what message would you send them?
Mm. Wow. I would say I we are our own creators.
Mm,
We have this internal knowing,
yes.
and the more conscious that you become of that, of our power, not from an ego, but power from how we can create, how we can direct our life and what we want to do, how the capacity that we have to do anything, like the our body knows how to heal, our body has this innate wisdom to do everything. And so really go inward and get to know yourself, peel the layers that we've been conditioned to by society and by people and our teachers and our parents, and all of this, that's all exterior. really go inside and listen, trust it, and explore,
Yeah.
explore. And another thing is to if you come from love, if
Mm.
you live life from love, from service, from how can I be my very best, how can I help
Yeah.
people, your life changes. Everything is there for you, not coming from a space of
Mm.
judgment, but like just serve, just be good,
Yeah.
because that's what we are.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Mm.
I had a I had a big group class on Tuesday. I had 20 people, and I never look at this because it's just not the way I think. But for a moment, I started to look around, and I had so many different people from like so many different countries, so many different religions, so many different races, and I never see it that way. But when I stopped, one person commented and they said, it's so nice to come to a group of people that are good when there's so much bad out there. And I think what he was trying to say is, we in that moment, nobody had labels, nobody had sides of anything. We were humans, and we
Yes.
were just showing up from love. And
Yes.
when we have that, we have such a connection. And
Mm.
if we can live from that space and forget about everything else, I
Yeah.
mean, we'll change the world.
Yes. Yes.
Change the
Absolutely.
world.
And
And we
also,
are the first example, because
yes.
we can't control out there, but we can control how we show up.
Yes.
And that ripples into everything else.
And the beauty also, I think that more and more it will start taking more the importance that it should have the meeting in person.
Yes.
You know, to
Unity.
be united in person because of the feeling that you have when you are because of course our energy, right, is not that we are in this body, like our energy is extended out of our body. So that is when you are in person and you get to resonate to a different level with others and get to feel that love or energy that is coming from them. So yeah, I know that we are in this technological and online experience, but I believe that more and more it will start taking more importance because we need that connection. We need that.
Ooh, we do, especially
Yeah.
as things are getting like with the AI and all that stuff.
Yes.
I don't want to be part of that world. I want to be
Yes.
meet people,
Yeah.
human.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
Okay, well, I could be talking with
Ah,
you forever and
me
continue. I don't know how
too.
long we are. I could have
I
continued
know.
for so many.
Thank
But I would love to ask you to finish this interview. I really would love to ask you one question. And yeah, so yeah, let me ask you this. So
you.
let's
Okay.
so imagine
hmm
that today
hmm
is your last day in this life,
Oh, wow.
and you have the opportunity to leave a message
Oof.
that the whole world will hear. You are going to transmit your life lesson in
Mhm.
one sentence. What advice or lesson that you've learned would you like to live for eternity?
Wow. I have to really think of this because it's a big one. But sometimes we don't have to make things so complicated. I think it would be go live. Just go
Mm,
live, go love, go experience, go be you,
yeah.
and I think the biggest thing is like be your true self.
Yes.
Be who you're supposed to be. We're all born so unique with our own blueprint, with our own gifts, with our own purpose. And if you just go out there and be that, that's it. It's perfect. You don't need to be anything else but that. You need to prove anything. Just your own essence is here for a reason, and enjoy it. Don't take it so seriously. It's not serious, right? Because I always feel like when we die, all we take is our experiences. We don't take anything material. It's what we've lived, what we've done here. So go live, and go live from love, from a space of love. That's it.
Amen. Thank
Right?
you.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Yes, yes, yes. Be you. Be
Be
your most
you.
authentic self.
Be
Yeah.
you. Just shine your light.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the goodness of your heart. That's it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful
I want
message
to
to
ask you
close.
all the questions back. They're deep. We need to do the reverse session now. It's next. Because it's so powerful, right? It's so beautiful.
Wow, thank you for opening with us, to share everything that you've experienced, to explain so beautifully all the different practices that you've discovered and that you share with others. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being you, like you were saying, be you. So thank you for being you
Thank
and
you.
for being so generous and open heart. You have such a good and open heart
Thank you.
that you want to share, that your mission is to share with others what you have learned and what brings you joy and what has transformed you. So thank you for doing that. Please continue being you. Please continue doing
Aw.
what you
I
do.
can't be anybody else but me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
we have to just be, and thank you for having this platform to have people to share
Mm,
their light and their awakening and to ripple out so that other people can see this and feel normal. And hopefully we can give them that shortcut if they're in
mm.
doubt or they're in limbo, like, no, this is what you're feeling is real. So trust it. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
Thank
much,
you. No,
Anushka.
thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. You're welcome. Mwah. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.